In this video, I'm gonna show you what you can do to make sure you don't hurt yourself while playing guitar. So, if you don't want to suffer any permanent damage, then by all means, stick around. Hey guys, this is Max from iwillteachyoutoPlayGuitar.com coming to you with a new guitar lesson. Today I'm doing a guest video for Musical U in support of an article that I wrote for their website about this same topic, which will be linked to in the description box below. I want to thank Musical U for having me, and while I'm sure this lesson will be useful for you, I'm still going to recommend you go down and read the article because it's going to contain much more detail than what we're going to be seeing in this video. So in this lesson we are actually not going to learn to play anything new, but don't put the guitar down yet. I want to make sure that you learn this thing ASAP. It's important to develop good practice habits to make sure that you don't get injured, because you can actually get permanent damage and end your guitar journey altogether. And I want to make sure you don't fall prey to any of those. So enough talk and let's get started. So whenever people talk about injuries, most people tend to talk about what they call as good and bad technique. But I want to make sure that I dispel that myth right now. So classically, most people consider to be a good technique when you have your guitar between both legs, resting between your thighs, chest up, and you use your fret hand with the thumb behind the neck and your four fingers on the fretboard, keeping the knuckle line parallel to the neck. And you would move your hand always like this, never like this or like this or even like this. This is the way most people teach how to play. On the other hand, anything else other than this is usually considered bad technique, such as when you play with the thumb peeking above the fretboard, or if you use your guitar on rest on the other side, something like this. That is what most people will call bad technique. But actually, in my experience, there doesn't seem to be a real thing about being good or bad technique. The thing is, most of your guitar heroes probably don't play like this. And the thing is, if they don't play like that and they play good music, then what's the point of calling it bad technique? The way I would solve this riddle is, if it works for you, then it's good technique, and if it doesn't, it's bad. So by now you must be asking yourself, okay, how do I know if what I play, the way I play it, works for me or not? I'm afraid there's only one answer to this. You have to find that out for yourself. But there's a caveat to this. If you are a beginner, you should probably stick to what your teacher tells you to play and how. Because when you're a beginner, you don't really have much experience to tell if something you are doing is going to work for you, or is going to hinder you, or if it's going to hurt you in the long run. The classical way I was showing you earlier just happens to be a tried and true method that most guitar players can play at least reasonably well and don't run high risk of getting hurt. Now, if you already have some experience, let's say you've been playing for like a year, then you can start to find your own style and how you can play more comfortable. Let's say now that you are playing something, you're practicing a song or something. There are actually three states you can be when you're practicing. You can either be relaxed, like, okay, I've just started to play something and I'm not tired and I'm feeling okay. Then you can be like a little bit sore, like whenever you start playing something that is quite demanding, your fingers start to get tired, and maybe you get tired, maybe you start to hunch your back. The last state that you can be, you can actually feel pain sometimes. You'll be working very diligently, but you push too far, and now your fingers hurt, your forearm hurts, maybe your neck hurts. Of course, as a general rule, you never want to get into that state of feeling pain. But sometimes you just can tell where you're gonna be, and for this I'm gonna show you two examples. The first one is what I like to call the banana finger position. So let's say you're playing something like this, a common power chord like this. Okay? But let's say that instead of using my 2 fingers, I want to use 1 finger like this, making a small bar. Okay, can you see how my finger looks? You see, my finger actually looks like this. You see that the finger stays in a position like a banana. It's actually pushing outward on the joint. Now this is something you must try to minimize as much as possible. If you were to be playing this technique like the proper way, with the thumb behind the neck, you'll be forcing your finger into that banana shaped position. The next example is going to be what I call just the twisted wrist. Okay, so if you're sitting down like I am, with the guitar right around between your belly, if you place your hand, you'll notice that your wrist is turned upwards. My palm is facing upwards. This is fine, but if I were to be playing standing up, usually your guitar is gonna be hanging a little lower. If your guitar hangs lower, I have to twist my wrist much more to get the same position. This is something that you can try for yourself. Just try to hold the position like this, without making any effort with your fingers. You'll see that you get all your forearm in tension, just by holding the wrist like this. Now imagine what would happen if, apart from doing this, putting the strength on my fingers and pushing on the strings. I'm gonna be adding a lot of pressure to the muscles and tendons on the forearm. That's as close as I can imagine getting to tendinitis. You might be asking yourself, okay, is there a way that I can get away with it? Okay, but before going into that, let's talk about how much practice is too much. Okay, it's obvious that you won't get better if you don't practice. But the thing is, if you practice too much, you also run the risk of overtraining and you can get seriously injured. Just like a top athlete has to take care of himself and not overtrain. Here are my recommendations that you can use to calibrate yourself. So let's say you just started playing and so far you don't feel anything, you're not sore and anything. Okay, that means that it's not enough practice, you got to keep on. Let's say you've been practicing for a considerable amount of time and you start to feel sore, your fingers, maybe your forearm. Okay, that's gonna be the sweet spot. Of course, there is no fixed rule of what considerable amount of time is, but in general, for me, in my experience, I found out that between 20 and 30 minutes is a good ballpark figure. Now let's say you've just started playing, you've been just a couple of minutes playing something and you already feel sore. I would say this is an orange flag of sorts. I mean, if you've just been playing for a couple of minutes and you're already feeling tired, in general, that means you're playing something either wrong or you're just putting too much effort in it. Okay, of course, the last situation would be you're practicing and you start feeling pain. Okay, if that is your case, I want to stop right now, put the guitar down and rest. If the pain doesn't go away, then I would say you should go to consult your doctor ASAP. And lastly, never underestimate that you also need good rest as much as good practice. I usually recommend to take at least 1 day off per week to just cool off, which is also going to help set in your skills you practice. Is there a way to push the envelope safely? Well, short answer is it depends. There are just some techniques that are inherently bad for your body, but sometimes there are just small tweaks that you can take that will help you play something that can be quite strenuous and make it a little easier. Let me show you as an example what you can do to prevent the problem with twisting your wrist. Whenever you're playing sitting down, usually your guitar is quite up and normally you don't have to twist your wrist too much. But if you like to play standing up, your guitar usually hangs much lower. So if you wanna play like this with a guitar very low, I have to turn my wrist a lot more, and that is gonna add a lot more tension to the forearm. So let's say that I still wanna play with my guitar very low because it looks cool, and yes, it does. So you could just wanna have your guitar hanging very low, but what you can do is turn the neck a little bit up so that your wrist is not facing upwards so much, but a little more like this, so that my palm is horizontal instead of facing upwards. Okay, so you can do this yourself. If you want to turn your palm upwards, it takes some effort, but if you keep your palm like this, you can stay all day. So if you want to be playing like that, you can always turn the neck up. I mean, sometimes guitar players also like to play like this, with the guitar completely vertical. And if you do this, you feel practically no tension on the forearm. So this is gonna be quite comfortable, and it looks cool. Of course, these are just examples that I come up with, but I'm sure that if you're having an issue with any technique, there's always something you can do to alleviate any pain or any tension and play more comfortable. Okay guys, that was it for this lesson. Once again, I'm going to recommend that you check out the full article that is going to have much more detail than what I've shown you just now. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up, and remember to subscribe to Musical Use channel. I'm going to leave links to my article and YouTube channel so that you can check out all my other articles and lessons that will help you a lot if you're struggling. So you can check out my other lessons and articles where I dive into a lot of detail on how to practice effectively and see the results that you're looking for. And I also dive a lot into the psychology of playing that's gonna help you if you're feeling down, if you're struggling and can't get to learn the skills you want. And if you like rock music like I do, I'm sure you'll love it. Okay guys, thanks for watching, and as always, stay strong.